You can tell it's winter because in the summer we're all like. Good afternoon. It's 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. We will call the City Council meeting of the City of New Ulm to order. Before we move to item number 1.1, I will mention that we do have an addendum that has been added to the council agenda for today that we will work through as one of our last items today. But we will start with item number 1.1, the oath of office. And our oath of office is for our new mayor, Kathleen Backer, our counselor in the 2nd Ward, Eric Warmka, and our 4th Ward counselor, Larry Mack. At this time, we will turn it over to our staff, to Nicole, to administer the oath of office. Nicole?
You want me to stand and raise your right hand? And I'll try and do them all at once, just repeat after me and fill in the blanks for the appropriate spots there. So I state your name.
I, Larry Warmka,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of the state of Minnesota
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of Minnesota, state of Minnesota,
and faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of mayor or counselor of the city of New Ulm,
and faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of the 2nd Ward Counselor of the City of Council
in the county of Brown and the state of Minnesota to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
in the county of Brown and state of Minnesota to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Thank you, and congratulations on re-election to Councilor Warmka and Councilor Mack, and congratulations to Kathleen Backer, who is the first elected female mayor in the city of New Ulm. Thank you. Moving on, item number 2, consent agenda. Councilors, what are your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve those.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
I do have one question. If you, under the issues was talking about Cortland and the no longer providing the inspection service, can we talk a little bit about why that happened and what kind of financial impact that is?
Elwood?
Elwood Zabel. Cortland Council decided to go another way. They got presented from a private company to provide services, and with the possibility of lowering their building permit fees is my understanding. And the financials, we maybe pulled in $12,000 to $15,000 a year from
I was just
them.
curious. I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion does carry. Moving on to item number 3.1, 2023 appointments of the mayor. And at this time, we will go over Mayor Sweeney's appointments for the term of 2023 to 2025. All right. For the Board of Health, we have Dr. Greg Glover as Health Officer. Economic Development Authority, this term goes from 2023 to 2028. We are appointing Michelle Markgraf, Shara Kalk, and Lindsay Henn, who will be filling the unexpired term of Mark Peterson. Energy Awareness Commission, we are reappointing Tom Henderson, appointing Deb Egland, and Teresa Caveney. Heritage Preservation Commission, we are appointing Ron Brutlag. Human Rights Commission, Katie Dorschner will be reappointed, and we are appointing Obehi Okeji. Library Board, we are reappointing Hope Freezy, appointing Mignon Fraser and Yvonne Weber. Monuments and Cemetery Commission, James Hogan and David Weldy will both be reappointed. Park and Recreation Commission, we are reappointing both Bev Lunenberg and Carissa Bugler, and newly appointing Kurt Johnson. Planning Commission, we are reappointing Annie Earl. Public Utilities Commission, Seth Visser will be reappointed, and we are appointing Kim Williams. For the Safety Commission, Gigi Rizdal's been appointed to fill a vacancy that's been open since January of 2022. Sister Cities Commission, Dick Seaboth and Brian Fislin will be reappointed, and Ron Wendinger will also be appointed to the Sister Cities Commission. For the Tree Commission, reappointing Greg Dearson and Paul Egeland. And those are the current appointments. We do have openings on the Cable Communication Advisory Board, and the Safety Commission. There are 3 vacancies, and the Sister Cities Commission has a vacancy, and the Planning Commission has a vacancy. If you would like more information on that, please contact us at the city, and we can tell you more about the appointments, the meeting times, and the roles of those commissions.
Motion to approve the confirmation of the 2023 appointments of the mayor.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Welcome to all of those who are new or reappointed members of these committees and commissions. Item number 3.2, appointments of the city council. The city council, we appoint on the first meeting of the year. And Chris, did you want to go over this one? Sorry, I took the other one.
So, annual appointments, Vice President of the Council, per Charter Section 63, is Councilor Schultz. City Attorney, that will be City Attorney Robert Scott, Assistant City Attorney Carolyn Brown, Brooke Hine, and Prosecuting Attorney Mike Flaherty from the firm Flaherty and Hood. The official newspaper will be The Journal. Fire Department officers, 2023 appointments of First Assistant Chief Aaron Wilford, Second Assistant Chief Melissa Visser, and Fire Marshal Trent Zabel. That was confirmed on December 6th of 22. Official designated to invest surplus funds on behalf of the city, and public utility commissions will be the city manager, the finance director, and assistant finance director. Designated depositories will be Alliance Bank of New Ulm, Bank Midwest, Citizen Bank Minnesota, Franzen Bank and Trust, Morton Capital Markets, Multi-Bank Securities, Oppenheimer and Company, United Prairie Bank of New Ulm, U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo Advisors, and Wells Fargo Bank. Council representative to the Cable Communication Advisory Board will be Councilor Schultz. Representative to the Planning Commission will be Councilor Mack. Representative to the Heritage Preservation Commission will be Councilor Christian. Representative to the Economic Development Authority will be Council President and Councilor Schultz. Representative to Park and Rec Commission will be Councilor Christian. Personnel Committee will be Council President Councilor Warmka, Councilor Schultz as an alternate, the city manager, and an addition of the human resource director. Organization representatives, indefinite term, the Blanding Group will be council president and the city manager. Brown County Solid Waste Advisory Board will be Councilor Warmka. Brown Lion Redwood Drug Task Force will be Councilor Schultz. Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities will be the mayor, city manager, and council president as an alternate. Fire Department Relief Association board will be Councilor Warmka. Law Enforcement Center Management Committee will be council president, city manager, and the chief of police. Minnesota River Valley Coalition of Kowloon will be the mayor and city manager as an alternate. Minnesota Valley Council of Governments will be the mayor and city manager. New Ulm Conventioners and Visitors Bureau will be the mayor, and Region 9 Development Commission will be the council president. We did remove the Chamber of Commerce Board as that position was eliminated.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton.
Make a motion to approve the 2023 appointment of the city council.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion does carry. Item number 4.1, variance request, 210 3rd South Street. Mr. Hanson.
Madam President, members of the City Council, Dave Schnobrecht, Community Development Director. The purpose of this variance request is to allow Mr. Hanson to locate a commercial kennel within 240 feet of a residential zoning district. And the proposed location of his business is 210 3rd South Street. This is the former location of Hyman Construction Company. Mr. Hanson would be leasing the space from AMB Rentals LLC. That firm is owned by Andrew Berg. The 240 feet is measured from the east property line of the parcel to Valley Street. And on the German Street side, it's 480 feet. So we have a couple of locations that are within the required setback. The required setback is 1,000 feet. Planning Commission considered this matter at their December 29th meeting and unanimously recommended approval with 6 conditions. There was one letter in opposition to the request, and you can find that in your agenda packet. The 6 conditions were as follows. Number 1, dogs shall not be allowed outside generally between the hours of 10 o'clock p.m. and 7 o'clock a.m. on Mondays through Fridays, or between the hours of 9 o'clock p.m. and 9 o'clock a.m. Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays. And this requirement follows the city's current noise ordinance requirements. Number 2, outdoor kennels shall be located as depicted in Attachment 4, Site Layout Map in the staff report to the Planning Commission. Number 3, the outdoor area shall be maintained and kept as to not create any smells that would be offensive to the general public. Number 4, no noise shall be generated from the site as to constitute a public nuisance. Number 5, dog boarding and daycare drop-off shall be within the property and not off of 3rd South Street. And number 6, any windows or openings to the building where the dogs are kennelled shall be closed at night to keep sound from leaving the inside of the building. Now, there is an additional consideration that staff would like you to consider, and that is that staff would recommend changing condition number 1 to read, dogs shall not be allowed outside generally between the hours of 5 p.m. and 8 o'clock a.m. Due to the proposed kennel's proximity to nearby residential districts, staff believes that some protection should be in place for residents in the area to reduce noise coming from the site during certain hours. As a result, we'd like the council to consider restricting the hours to the outside to between 8 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. Now, we have had a discussion with Mr. Hanson about this, and he requested that that time frame be increased to 8 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. He said the increase in the hourly limit to 8 o'clock p.m. Would allow him to let the dogs out basically for the night before boarding them, and he thought that that would work out better. Mr. Hanson is here, and so I guess that's something that you can discuss with him. So the commission had one recommendation, staff would have another, Mr. Hanson has a third. I'd also like to note that Mr. Hanson currently operates a business at 520 20th North Street. That's called Minnesota Canine Club. So he's proposing to move that existing business to this new location. The Planning Commission identified some unique circumstances in this particular case. Number 1 is that the current dog park is approximately 1,200 feet from the proposed kennel location. Now, in addition to that fact, the dog park is located right across the street from residential housing. Number two, between the proposed kennel and the nearest residences on Valley Street, you have the CP Railroad, and to the residents going towards German Street, you have the BMX track. It is not likely that either property will be developed into residential uses in the future. Number three, the proposed location of the outdoor kennels faces the interior of the property. There are existing steel buildings between the outdoor kennel locations and the property lines to the east and west, potentially reducing noise from leaving the site. To the north and south, there really aren't any residential uses in those two directions. Number four, there are a number of noise-generating uses already surrounding this property that are variable in duration. And then also included in your packet is the findings of fact form that was completed by the Planning Commission. That would conclude the staff report.
I have one question for you, Dave. I don't have the new zoning ordinance memorized like the old one. Am I correct that like in the I-2 zone, technically they could be working until noise and whatnot, 10 o'clock at night?
Well,
Our old ordinance?
the noise requirements aren't in the zoning part of the ordinance.
But I
They're
mean-
No, it's the noise regulations apply uniformly throughout the community.
But isn't
so-
that 10 o'clock?
Is it 10 o'clock?
Yeah, 10
Yeah.
o'clock Monday through
All right.
Fridays.
Yeah.
And same with that question, and maybe Tom would know this. What are the hours of the dog park that already exists out there? What is a suggestion? Is that 9 o'clock, sundown? I'm just curious.
I've seen dogs there
I
at
know,
10
right?
o'clock at night.
That's,
That question didn't come up at
Mm-hmm.
the zoning meeting. Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department. The dog park does not have specific hours. All of our parks are 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. by code, is my
Okay.
understanding.
thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. Where did the staff recommendation come from for the reduction in hours after the planning committee? Like, can you tell me a little bit about that discussion? Why you think 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock would be better in this particular case for this particular business?
I think based on the discussion that took place at the Planning Commission meeting, that staff still felt that, some reduction in the number of potential hours that dogs would be outside would be appropriate in this location. I should note that the application from Mr. Hanson actually contained 2 blocks of 2 hours, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and that was what was originally discussed. And so that was the first consideration. And then at the Planning Commission meeting, the discussion evolved to, well, let's not restrict that much. Let's go with a wider time period. And that's where the Planning Commission decided that the city's existing noise regulations would be appropriate. Staff felt that that maybe went a little bit too far.
And I just wanted to maybe touch base from the planning commission. Mr. Hanson kind of explained that he'd like to do some dog training, and that could be various hours to try to work with clients in the evening potentially, and that's why we were just kind of using the city's current zoning, rather than just, if someone drives by and see, oh, there's a dog there after 4 o'clock, when he had those times, and who wants to regulate that? So we just kind of were saying generally, speaking.
Did we get any letters of concern or anybody?
We received.
One.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just the
one
one that's in the
response
agenda
on a-
packet. We also received 2 telephone calls, but both of those individuals just wanted what we would consider to be background information about the request.
I did also receive a phone call, I think, looking for a little bit more information. I I mean, I guess I did have a couple of questions about like how many dogs are expected to be there overnight, like what the capacity is expected to be. I mean, are we talking 5 or 10 dogs here? Are we talking 20 or 30 canines? I don't know if
Mr.
Mr. Hanson is
here.
here. Yes, if you can, and if you can come up and state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
John Hanson, 2201 North Broadway. So to answer your question, normally, I mean, on average, I'll have, lately it's been around 15 dogs. On holidays, I've had as high as 35 dogs. With this facility, I'll have plenty of room. I would limit it probably somewhere between 50 and 60 if I ever got that high. Chances are slim on that, but and then I'd like to go back to the hours if we could, as far as like when they can be out and everything. I just, like, I close at 5:30, so I usually do have the dogs in by around 5. And then alls I want at night is basically just a good half hour, 45 minutes, just to let them out to go to the bathroom one more time before I put them in the kennels for the night. And that's kind of how I handle it now. So, and all the dogs are inside by 9 p.m. So.
Your concession was at an 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.? Is that what the ask was?
Yeah, yep,
Or reasonable? Okay.
yep, that's reasonable.
General
for sure.
hours.
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
You won't be marching all these dogs down to the dog park, will you?
No, they will be staying on the property for sure. So.
Do you have a lot of just kind of like daytime drop-offs, or is it mainly more overnights?
So I do daycare, and drop off from there is usually I open up at 6:30 in the morning. You know, for the people who work at 7, they can get their dogs there and everything. So 6:30 until 9:30 a.m. is when they currently drop off, and then they pick up usually between the hours of 3 and 5:30 p.m. So.
What time does the city start doing work, like leaf blowers, lawn mowers, all of that stuff? Maybe that's a Tom Schmitz question, because that's probably, I get a lot of calls and complaints and videos about that. Or maybe
You
that's
know
a
that
Jeff
snow
question.
blowing is 24/7.
Right.
You can't stop that.
No, but
7 a.m.
7 a.m. So you can run your lawn mowers and you can run your leaf blowers and all that stuff too. I mean, I don't know.
How will the beeping of those snow trucks affect these dogs? Are they gonna just go crazy over that? You know, when the
Of the
trucks
snow
are
trucks?
backing up, there's those loud beep?
Oh, I mean, we get plenty of noise where we're at right now. I mean, there's ARR construction and the city employees and stuff over there.
I just kinda came to me, that I was wondering if that would,
They've been fine with that and the train and all that.
oh
I
yeah, you
mean,
got the
they're-
train right there too.
They get desensitized to things like that. But not only that, but if we don't let a dog just sit out there and bark. If there's a dog out there barking or anything, I bring it inside and I, keep it busy and, remove it from that situation. Here, I'll have definitely way more room, space indoors. So I'm not worried about that pretty much at all. And I'll have some relief stations inside too, so that they can go to the bathroom inside and things like that too, if we need to.
Well, I know this is a business that we really need in our community, because I've heard this from lots of folks. It's bad as regular daycare.
Yeah, it gets busy, so.
John, could you maybe touch base on how you're going to staff this facility, for how many dogs? I mean, I think the chair was kind of asking, how many you're going to have, and then,
Yep.
can you
Yep.
give us what you're
Lately is-
envisioning, I guess?
Yeah, lately it's been myself, and then I have a couple of other helpers. But depending on the group of dogs and the number, I suppose, is when I would add another employee there. So what I would like is one employee bringing in dogs in the morning and another employee in the back just observing, watching the dogs, making sure that they're all, getting along and everything. Usually, I would say one employee per 15 dogs is good. So, unless we have a special case, to where there's a dog that's never been there and, maybe not neutered or something, acting up, so.
Sure.
I can personally attest to the professionalism that John has with his business, with MCC the way it is. Yeah, my dog goes there weekly. Well-kept facilities, very, very clean, very professional. The barking is never even an issue, really. When I drop off and pick up, it's always very, very well done with the staff that he has and everything. So, and I think the hours are reasonable, the concession, if we can see how that works out. If 8 to 8 is acceptable for you,
Yeah.
I think that seems
I could
fair.
work that
The
out.
dogs do need one more out before the night.
I could definitely work that out, so. And just so you guys know, the main part of their barking is when people are dropping off or picking up. And in my facility now that I'm at, the dogs are right out in front. They see everybody walking in with their dogs and that's when they're barking. Here, the dogs will be in the back and they won't even see people coming and dropping off or picking up. So it'll be a lot calmer, so. So, anybody else have any questions?
I just have one for the Community Development Director, just for the general public.
Okay.
Dave, you want to touch on why we didn't have to do this at the existing dog pounds, like with the apartments that are not 1,000 feet?
Well, the way the code was written is it states that 1,000 square feet is from a residential
Right.
zoning district.
I
Those
did get asked that
apartments-
question, and I had asked you about it, just for general public information.
Those
That's why we
apartments
didn't have
are
to
in
do
a
it.
business
Right.
zoning district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing that I would note is John Isley of our office did spend some time looking both now and in the past for appropriate sites to accommodate this type of land use. And it was really difficult. And I think it probably means that our 1,000, foot distance should be looked at.
I did bring that up in the planning commission. I asked what was the history of that zoning and how did they get upon 1,000 feet? We didn't have any past records. I wasn't on the zoning at that time, but, just for example, our shredder could be within 500 feet of residential, so it's, and I guess, my thoughts are, we have a dog park. How many complaints do we get there from the residents on German Street or Valley Street currently? And they're here from 7 a.m. to 10. I'm not hearing it from anybody in the community. And if-
That's why, I know it would be more dogs at one time, but I'm curious about, the restrictions on the times for the noise. You can't have that sound, but you can have other sounds. And I don't live in that neighborhood, so I don't know, but I do have a lot of dogs in my neighborhood that bark a lot. So I don't, the 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., that does still seem like it's within, what it is for everybody else. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I am too. I'll go ahead and offer a resolution, waive the reading, approve the variance request with conditions of John Hanson on behalf of AMB Rentals LLC to allow a commercial kennel to be located 240 feet from a residential zoning district on property legally described on Exhibit 1 of Resolution at 210 3rd South Street, New Ulm.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
No, resolution.
Oh, resolution. Yes, Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Christian.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Warmka.
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion does carry. Thank you. Item number 4.2, ordinance number 2023-TBD, first consideration zoning.
Okay, this particular ordinance would amend Appendix A of the New Ulm City Code, and that's the city's zoning ordinance, and it would allow wholesaling, warehousing, distribution as a conditional use in the B3 zoning district. The B3 zoning district is our community business district. The Planning Commission, at its December 29th, 2022 meeting unanimously recommended approval of the ordinance amendment. The purpose of the B3 zoning district is to provide for the establishment of major retail and service centers in the city where both adequate land area and transportation access can be provided. Such districts shall allow for a concentration of business uses that draw customers from both within and outside the community. And that particular statement comes directly from our zoning ordinance. There is a limited amount of B3 zone property in New Ulm, and this district was established primarily for commercial retail businesses. And it was anticipated that the physical area, would be fairly small. There are 2 areas within the community that have this type of zoning designation, and they're on the north and south ends, and they have Broadway that bisects those particular areas. So this particular amendment would apply to all properties in the B3 zoning district. There was some discussion at the Planning Commission about the fact that the way our zoning ordinance is currently set up, we have some flexibility in dealing with these types of requests as either interim or conditional use. The conditional use, as you know, has no end date and runs with the property, but it can be revoked if conditions are violated. That assumes that conditions have been established. Interim use permits are temporary in nature and can be approved for up to 5 years. After 5 years, the interim use can be renewed, but it would be considered by the Planning Commission as if it were a new application. Now, we do have a specific statement in our zoning ordinance regarding this matter, and it reads that the Community Development Department may, in its discretion, recommend to the applicant, the Planning Commission, and City Council that any use designated in the table as C, which means conditionally permitted, be instead considered as an interim permitted use. Now, the ultimate decision on what type of permit someone applies for is going to be up to the applicant. It's just that if the staff were to suggest or recommend that it be an interim use, and the applicant wanted a conditional use, then staff is probably going to recommend denial of the request and make that known then to the City Council. Just a couple other items regarding this particular matter, and that is that we did do a survey of 22 other greater Minnesota cities. It was rather quick, but what we found is that 40% allowed wholesaling, warehousing, distribution in their commercial zoning districts, similar to our B3 zones. That's about 40%. The proposed amendment that you have before you has been prepared by the city attorney. And then finally, the amendment would simply modify 2 tables that are in our zoning code. One is table 5.5 and the other is table 9.1. And we are simply going to take the land use item, that is wholesaling, warehouse, distribution, and in the B3 zoning district, we'll put a C in that particular column where right now there is nothing designated. Staff and the Planning Commission would recommend approval of the amendment described in the proposed ordinance. The ordinance would provide additional flexibility in dealing with potential land uses for properties in the B3 zoning district. Given the current commercial retail landscape, it only makes sense to us to allow this type of land use. Requiring a conditional or interim use permit would allow another level of review and discussion that would help determine the appropriate use for the property and any conditions associated with it. That would conclude staff comment on the first consideration.
Yes, Dave, I've got a question in regards to this. Will this come back to the planning commission again? Say he gets some sort of retail or how he's gonna divide the property up for the future? Or say, for example, he talked about doing other building on the property, you know, it's got a rather large parking lot, but will things like that come back, for us as far as, you know, if he shrinks it down, that he doesn't need so much parking and he wants to develop other parts of the property, for example?
Okay, there is a development agreement in place for the property. And I sent a copy of the development agreement to City Attorney Scott and asked him to start to take a look at it and to see, first of all, is it still in effect? I believe that it is, but then what are the ramifications and what changes would have to be made in order to accommodate both the warehouse use, and then if there's future subdivision and development of the property, what are appropriate provisions, you know, that should be placed in the development agreement to accommodate that. So I would say at a minimum, the development agreement's gonna have to be changed to, you know, address, you know, changes that might take place in the future.
Dave, was any questions in regards to staff, with like if this is gonna be a 24-hour warehouse or like hours of operation, or is it gonna be increased traffic more than say it was a Target, you know, and deliveries, and how that may handle with the,
Those types of questions and that type of information would generally be provided at the time he would apply for a conditional use permit for the property. So that's when we would find all of that information out. Up to this point in time, we don't have any further information to provide to the council.
with Mr. Bodie's application, he was applying for a conditional use permit, not as like an interim, more requesting.
He would have to make the request as the applicant, and that means he has to have some, either he or Dayton Hudson will have to apply for the permit, whoever owns the property.
Do you foresee any issues that we had similar to our other building where we were doing, you know, semis were coming in at late at night and the backup beeping and the neighbors getting very irate? Do you see that?
We don't have any
potentially?
residential around here.
What's that?
There's
Yeah,
no
around
residential
Target.
around there.
Potential around there.
A little bit towards the back, but
Yeah, it's much further away. In this particular case, the residents were right across the street.
yeah, right
And-
across the street.
But in this
That's what I was
case,
asking.
we've got a little bit more distance. We've got some vegetation, mature trees in place. So there's some things that would help address that. And I think we have added knowledge of knowing what the potential problems might be, and so
sure
we can
do.
address those as well.
I mean, with the presentation, we knew this when we adopted the new ordinance, because all these businesses, they still have to come back to the planning commission, council. Tonight, we're just approving it, so conduct the first consideration of ordinance number 2023, amending Appendix A of the New Ulm City Code, zoning ordinance of the city of New Ulm to allow wholesaling, warehousing, distribution as a conditional use in the community business B3 zoning district.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion does carry. Thank you, Mr. Schnobrick. Number 5.1, new business, Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Environmental Action Fund.
Council President, councilors, before you have a request, annual request from CGMC for their voluntary environmental action fund. We split this with the PUC. Our portion would be $1,765. The environmental action team really steps up and talks to state agencies about environmental regulations. They're really taking a lead on the lead pipe inventory and replacement that we all know is coming and we'll have to do soon. And they're going to be looking at trying to have the state fund portions of that. So it's not purely on the utilities, water infrastructure funding, opposing proposed permit fee increase. They do a lot of lobbying on that. And the really big one is our wastewater, and that's the per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFASs, that they're trying to regulate. And they're really trying to make everything based on science and not just arbitrary statements that the MPCA wants to push on our waste management facility. So I do think this is a very nominal amount for the amount of work that they do on our behalf at the Capitol.
I will state I'll abstain from the vote here because I am a board member of the CGMC.
Chris, do you get monthly or quarterly reports from them in regards to where they're at with statuses?
So we do get their monthly updates, what they do at the Capitol, but we do attend, or I attend, their 2 annual sessions where they go over what they've done. This year was kind of a wash because the legislature didn't pass anything this session, so a lot of the stuff they were doing, they're continuing for 23.
I'll offer a motion to authorize the commitment to submit payment to the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities in the amount of $1,765 for the CGMC Environmental Action Fund after January 1st, 2023, and or on before February 1st, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Again, I abstain, and that motion carries. Number 5.2, set a public hearing for the 2023 Utility Street and Alley Improvements Group 1 project.
Madam President, City Councilors, this is just setting the date for the public hearing for the 2023 USA project. Project locations are noted within your agenda form. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Motion to set the date of the public hearing on the 2023 Utility Street Alley Improvements Group 1 project for Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. You want all of them ready in, Nicole, on the following?
No, I think you can just.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Item number 5.3, Public Works Equipment Replacement.
Madam President, because City Councilors, this is Jeff Huffman, Public Works Superintendent. These are just 2 items that we have that to be replaced in 2024. I'm coming to you now with them already because it's gonna take a year and a half to get them. So I was just looking for the okay to go out, and you can see the quotes are in your packet on each one, so.
Jeff, I see we got one piece of equipment that's 2004, one's 2014. So we're running one 20 years, one 10 years?
The distributor,
Just,
the 2004 distributor, that gets used probably for a month, month and a half. The jetter truck runs every day, I would say 10 months out of the year.
okay,
So it's a lot more time on that truck.
thank you.
Is that jet vac truck, that's pretty much run by PUC staff, right?
No, it's our staff, but, PUC helps pay for Intuit on the equipment revolving and things like that,
Okay.
so.
How's it go?
And they pay for some of the part wages too, for the guys.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to prepare specifications, secure bids and quotes, or use state bid contracts to acquire equipment and vehicles for 2024 with an estimated cost of $582,515.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion does carry. Moving on to item number 5.4, Park and Recreation donations.
Okay, again, the Park and Rec had an excellent month last month. I'll offer the resolution to accept donations offered to the city of Nome through the Park and Rec Department as outlined. Rec on the Go program, $1,600. It's the final 20% from the New Ulm Public Schools. Herman Heights pavers, $200 honoring Ella Dietrich from Rosemary and Florian Dietrich. Pollinator Park, $50 from Brown County Historical Society, and another $50 from the Brown County Historical Society. German Park Pavers, $200 honoring Taya Traurick Schrader and Hesso from Barb Anderson, $200 honoring Ella Dietrich from Rosemary and Florian Dietrich. North Park Shelter, $20,673. That is the final payment from the Lions Club of New Ulm. Again, thank you for that donation. And the Trail Kiosk, $1,200 from the Optimus Club, for a total of $24,173 cash.
Second.
And a second, any additional discussion?
Keep it up for 2023, Tom.
And that the letters, thank you letters will be sent by the mayor, so there you go. Tomorrow. Those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye.
Senate
Oh,
resolution,
resolution, there we go again. Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Christian.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Warmka.
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion does carry. Item number 6.1, report of claims paid.
I'll offer a motion to accept the list of claims paid in the amount of $3,461,814.36.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Moving on to the addendum for new business, it's a loan to Spexis Incorporated.
Madam President, I'll offer a motion to suspend the rules to take on the amendment.
Second.
Motion and a second to suspend the rules and take on this council addendum item. Any additional discussion? Those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion does carry. And item number 1.
Council President, Councilors, for you have a loan for Spexis Inc. for purchase of equipment through our city revolving loan fund. Spexis is looking to make substantial capital investments in renovating their facility, and part of this would be purchasing some equipment to be part of the renovation and automation of the business. The total loan package is approximately $446,200. Total project cost will be $496,000. The proposed terms for the loan would be loan amount of $149,999, interest rate of 1%, term of 15 years, and job creation within 2 years of the equipment purchase is one job at $17 an hour. The Spexis project meets the requirements of the city revolving loan, 10% minimum equity in the project, and the city loan is 30% of the total project cost. This was reviewed by staff. Loan funds will come out of the revolving loan fund, and we do have enough in the fund to cover the loan.
Now, Spexis continues to do great things on my side of town and grow and just everything that they continue to generate out of that small area. So I'm happy to see they're trying to make some capital improvements. So I'll go ahead and offer a resolution authorizing a loan with conditions to Spexis Incorporated in the amount of $149,999 from the city's revolving loan fund for equipment purchase.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
Do we have any other current loans with them in regards?
We do have a facade improvement loan. They did fix the roof of their building.
Okay, that's right. I think it's a great program.
Any additional discussion? I just think it's great too to just see them growing and just how they've really invested in our community as well. So, Director Jorgensen, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Christian.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz. Yes. Counselor Warmka.
Yes.
And President Becker.
Yes, that motion does carry. And with no additional business, this meeting is adjourned.
Think.
Now you get the official graduation. First to be sure.